Hey everybody, so we've got a couple days before the start of the NHL season. I cannot wait. Hockey starts on Wednesday. I've done my season predictions. I've done season previews for all 31 NHL teams. There's one last thing I want to do before the season starts, and that is awards predictions. So I'm going to do that right now. Before we get into the video, I just quickly want to say if you're not yet a subscriber to this channel, to please hit that subscribe button and follow along for all my hockey content this season. And if you enjoy this video, please hit that like button and give it a thumbs up. That really helps out the channel a lot and is greatly appreciated. So NHL awards, regular season awards. I'm not going to do every single one, but I want to talk about some of the major awards and predict who I think is going to win them this season. So let's get right into it, starting with the MVP, the Hart Trophy. Nikita Kucherov won it last year for the Tampa Bay Lightning. And once again this season, I think Nikita Kucherov is going to be the league MVP. That team is just so stacked. He produces so many points. Such an incredible player, absolutely a top 3 player in the league. I think he's the MVP once again this season, and his point totals are going to be through the roof. That brings us to the Art Ross Trophy, the leading point getter in the NHL, and I don't have to change anything. I think it is Nikita Kucherov, and a big reason why he wins MVP is because he's going to lead the league in points again this year. Kucherov's an incredible point producer, and he plays on such a dynamic and offensive team in Tampa Bay with that he just the sheer number of points he can put up on that team is insane. He's a guy who I could easily see hitting 120 this season, which is wild to even think about. 120 points in 82 games, or maybe even less. Just a ridiculous player, He's not only a guy who can score 40-plus goals on a season, but he can also have 70-plus assists. Just an absolutely incredible player. And I think he leads the league in points again this year like he did last year. The Rocket Richard Trophy for the leading goal scorer. I don't have to go far, but it is not Nikita Kucherov, it's his teammate Steven Stamkos. I have Steven Stamkos leading the NHL in goals this year. If you watched my video from the beginning of September, I predicted the leading goal scorer for each NHL team, and I predicted the number of goals. I had Steven Stamkos leading the Tampa Bay Lightning in goals, and also the entire NHL with 48 goals this season. I'm sticking with that prediction. That's what I made, so I stick with my predictions. I have Stamkos winning the Rocket Richard Trophy for the league's leading goal scorer this year. Moving on to the Norris Trophy, the NHL's best defenseman. Once again, we're noticing a theme here called the Tampa Bay Lightning. I think Victor Hedman takes home the Norris Trophy this year. Tampa is absolutely stacked. They're, a 62-win team last season, President's Trophy. I think they should be competing for the President's Trophy, if not winning it again this season. I think they can be a 60-win team this season. That lineup is absolutely stacked, and then we all know what happened in the playoffs last year, getting swept out in the first round. I think they come back with a chip on their shoulder this year. They come back with a vengeance. I certainly expect them to be a incredibly good regular season team. The playoffs are a different story. We saw what happened last year, and that's a whole different thing. But these are regular season awards. I think Tampa Bay is going to be dominant again in the regular season, and Victor Hedman is going to take home the Norris Trophy as the league's best defenseman. Mark Giordano won it last year. Kind of a surprise. He had a very, very good season, an incredibly good season last year. But I don't think at the beginning of the year, very many people thought of Mark Giordano as a Norris, contender or a candidate. He certainly wasn't the first guy that comes to mind. So we could see a surprise winner again this year. Someone could have a really, really good season. But at the beginning of the year, looking at, who the top D-men in the league are, I think Victor Hedman wins it this season. That gets us to the Vezina Trophy for the top goaltender, and I'm finally leaving the Tampa Bay Lightning. I don't think Vasilevsky wins it again this year. He did win it last year, but I don't think he wins it this year. I think Marc-Andre Fleury from the Vegas Golden Knights wins the Vezina Trophy this year. And that might be a bit of a surprising pick. That's not a name I've heard talked about a whole lot as far as Vezina goes. Obviously, Vasilevsky's name keeps coming up. Ben Bishop, people are talking about if he can do again for the Dallas Stars have the season he had last year, he could win it. Fleury hasn't gotten a lot of Vezina talk, but I'm really high on Vegas this year. I think they win the Pacific Division. I think they're one of the absolute top teams in the league, and I think Marc-Andre Fleury is going to be a big reason why, and he's going to have a stellar season for them and win the Vezina Trophy this year. Calder Trophy for Rookie of the Year. If you follow this channel at all, you already know my pick because I've been talking about him a lot, really since the playoffs last season all the way through now. I've been talking about this kid a ton, and my pick for the Calder this year is Cale Makar from the Colorado Avalanche. I am so high on Cale Makar. He's an absolutely dynamic defenseman. Love everything about this kid. I watched him play at UMass Amherst in college. Saw him play there quite a bit in a lot of UMass games. I watch a lot of New England college hockey, and he was a guy who just stood out to me from the get-go. He's a dynamic skater, incredible puck handler. He can produce tons of points. He's also pretty darn good defensively. Some of these offensive defensemen aren't that great in their own end and are more about producing points than actually playing defense. Cale Makar can play defense. He can get physical if he needs to. He's not a big guy, but you know, he's thrown some big hits that I've seen, and he's not afraid to throw his weight around when he needs to. He can play in his own end. He can play defensively, and he also just has all the skills to be a dynamic point producer as well. I think Colorado has an absolute stud in Cale Makar. I think he could be a future Norris Trophy winner. I am very, very high on him. I don't think, obviously, I'm not thinking he's going to win the Norris in his rookie season. He still has a lot of developing to do. He's still very young. He has a lot of growing to do at the NHL level, but he came in the playoffs last year once the college season had ended and played very well for the Avalanche. Now it's his first full season in the NHL, his first regular season in the NHL, and I think he has a huge year and wins Rookie of the Year. The Selke Trophy for the best defensive forward. Last year, it was Ryan O'Reilly. This year, I believe that Patrice Bergeron returns to his Selke Trophy winning ways and wins it for the Boston Bruins. Bergeron was a finalist last year, so it's not like he had a bad year or anything. He just got beat out by Ryan O'Reilly. I think Bergeron wins it this year. He's just the ultimate two-way player. And even though he's getting older now, he's still producing at an incredible level for the Bruins. And you know, he really is one of the guys that make that team go. And he's just a remarkable player. Incredible that I get to watch him play on a night in and night out basis, being a Bruins fan. He really is a legend. And I think if he's not the best defensive or best two-way defensive and offensive forward of all time, I think he certainly is the best two-way forward of this generation, without a doubt. There's never been anyone else like him. Just the things he does defensively, how responsible he is defensively, how he plays in his own end, how he plays in the neutral zone, his face-off percentage, and then how he also continues to score points and produce at a very high rate offensively as well. Patrice Bergeron is an absolute legend, and I think he wins another Selke Trophy this season. And finally, the Jack Adams Award for Coach of the Year. If you watched my my season predictions video, you saw that I have the New Jersey Devils finishing second in the Metropolitan Division this year. Well, if the Devils finish second in the Metropolitan Division, then John Hines is going to win Coach of the Year. They're going to be, you know, they were a last place team last year. I think they've made some huge improvements this offseason. Obviously, they got Jack Hughes first overall. They added PK Subban to that back end. They've made some other moves as well. if New Jersey goes from last place to being a second place team, John Hines is the coach of the year, and that's what I have happening. So that's who I have as my Jack Adams winner this season. I really have high expectations for New Jersey. I think it's going to be a big time turnaround for them. I like what I've seen a lot with that roster and what they've done. So we'll see when games start how they look and how much better they really have gotten. But again, they are one of the surprise teams that I have being really, really good this year. And I think that if that does happen, which I'm predicting to happen, then John Hines definitely would win Coach of the Year. So those are my awards predictions for before the season starts. I mean, we'll see as the year goes along how right or wrong I am. But this is always something that's fun to look back on and see which ones I get right, which ones I don't, and how the overall season goes compared to how I think it's going to go. So with that, like, comment, share, subscribe, follow on social media. All those links are down in the description below. If you'd like to further support the channel, the links to our Patreon and merchandise store are down in the description as well. Keep spreading the word about this channel. Let's keep this thing growing. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll talk to you guys soon.